Surf today. Get up and brush off the dew on that. Surf today. Surf today. Surf today. Cut it and roll that dew on that. Surf today. Surf today. Surf today. Set up, they about to come through on that. Surf today. Surf today. Surf today. Get up. Surf today. Get up. Surf today. Let's get out the way. Here comes first play. Let's maintain that turf today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Turf Today, recorded on the Superintendent Network and brought to you by Toro. My name is Adam Kershane, joined as always by Brian Laurent, and today we got a fantastic episode for you guys, so let's dive into things. Brian, what's going on, buddy?
Adam, how are you, sir? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're back. 2026. It's up and rolling and feels like we're all back to work, but nobody's really back to work, right?
Dude, it's nuts. Right after the holidays is always like, the holiday hangover where the kids are sick, you're sick, schedules are all out of whack. It's nuts. So, yeah. And the only positive in like this age of the digital era is like, I'm not as concerned about having to scratch out checks anymore and, putting the wrong date on it after the new year and all that. So, and like I think we were talking about before, it's a lot easier to turn a 5 into a 6 on a check if needed or documents or whatever. So
yeah,
we got that going for us this year.
A little easier on us this year. Exactly. And you're right. I feel like everybody I've talked to this holidays has been sick at some point or has something and all passed around. So we're right into it right this year. So
we are. I thought I was going to get out scot-free. I was in the clear. Kids went back to school and then boom. Got me.
Dad went down.
Dad went down.
Oh, that's the worst. You guys had a good holiday at your house, though? A lot of fun?
A lot of fun. Yep. Yeah. It's the holidays change a lot when the kids get older. They sleep in past 5 a.m. They're not as excited to run downstairs and tear open whatever Santa got them, but still nice. Still very nice. Got to spend a lot of quality time with the kids and family came into town and all that. So yeah, no complaints. How about your place?
Nice. Yeah, well, we still have the young kids, so there's still the magic of Christmas, and we spend a lot of time doing that stuff. And I felt like it was a good sort of finish to December. The last few weeks, we didn't do much on the podcast. I was not in at the golf course very much, so it was kind of full-time dad and played some hockey and did all of the the magic of Christmas stuff with the kids, which was a ton of fun. And Christmas morning was great. Got to see our folks, but everybody was kind of sick around the holidays, so there's this and that, and you miss things for this and miss things for that. So just good to spend time with the family, kind of reset, get ready for a new season. And we did some fun stuff. The one thing that I mentioned to you, which was unbelievable, was I took Will to his first pro lacrosse game, and it was my first pro lacrosse game too. And I've always been a lacrosse guy. I played field lacrosse in high school, which was a lot of fun. But this was something different, man. I was blown away. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to go back to my next game. Like the contact, the skill, the different things going on. It was unbelievable. I absolutely loved it. So if you have a team around you, or if you can travel to go see a game, it should be up there on the list for sporting events, because it was unbelievable.
Yeah, they are a ton of fun. Like I am completely hooked with that game. It's my kids started playing it a couple 2 years ago, and it's like I can't wait for their next game. They're so exciting. And yeah, just at that level, that pro, you went to that box game. I mean, it's fast, it's vicious, like it's so much fun. Yeah, we've got more games coming up this weekend too, so I'm going to spend 6 hours at the field.
Nice, there you go.
Yeah, take my camera and all the fun stuff and enjoy time watching some lax. So yeah, I think I look forward to lacrosse games more than they do. Like I get up,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm that dad. It's like I'm prepping everything. I'm ready to go. Let's go, boys. Come on, let's go. I'm playing their hype music on the drive over. I'm getting
Nice.
myself worked up. Like it's the best.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's the
it's a
best.
fun sport, tough sport, and
Yeah,
it's one that we're definitely gonna keep taking in because we really enjoyed it.
yeah,
So
yeah. And you got the kids on the ice too, right? Will's out there.
he's been skating quite a bit. Yeah, he took skating lessons this year, and all the
Nice.
ponds and rinks are frozen around us right now. So we've been out there skating around a little bit and got him a stick. So he's into it. Little hockey guy for sure.
That's good. So are you going to be like me with golf? Or are you going to leave it up to someone else to kind of teach him hockey?
That was the plan. Yeah, he's been doing lessons with somebody else and then, skating outside with me. But yeah, everybody you talk to, it's like, don't teach your own kid how to skate. Let somebody else do it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Even if you do
it's
try
fun.
to do it, they're not going to listen to you anyways. So I mean, you might
Yeah,
as well just turn it over immediately.
yeah. And I feel like it's going to be the same for golf. Like he's going to need some help outside of dad for
Yeah.
golf because yeah, he's got my temper on the golf course too. So
Yeah.
that's always fun.
That's what hell, even Lauren, my wife, asked me, for advice and stuff. I'm like, I'm beyond that. I forget how to swing a golf club anymore. So we'll just, if you really want lessons, we'll find you someone. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not dealing with it. I'd rather stay married than try and teach you how to play golf.
exactly.
Sun's barely up, dew still on the fairways, and the crew's already rolling. This is where mornings matter, and Toro delivers. From stripes that pop to cuts that stay true, Toro mowers bring power, precision, and reliability, day after day, and just like us, season after season. Less downtime, cleaner cuts, more time to make the course look elite. Because on a golf course, every pass counts, and when it's time to mow like a pro, you mow Toro. Toro, always solving, always evolving.
So we got a bit of a cool one today. Somebody who was recommended to the show, Dave Ragan, who owns his own irrigation and technical company. At first, when we talked to him, I wasn't sure if this was something we could do just because of, Toro and all that kind of stuff. But Dave's developed a lot of different technology and things that Toro now uses. So very, very excited to talk to him about his career, everything he's gotten into. And we haven't really had an irrigation, call it expert, on the show to talk about some of this stuff. And it's a tough part of our industry. It's a tough job to learn and to kind of dive into. So I'm excited to talk to him today.
Yeah, water is critical, right? I mean, it's the one thing that doesn't change no matter what kind of golf course, public, private, high end, low end, whatever it is. I mean, water's important. So it'd be nice to chat with him and talk about what he's up to and figure out what's going on in Florida. I think he's based down there in Florida, which is peak season for those guys right now. So
That's big.
be curious to chat with him. And it sounds like he's going to a lot of new builds and stuff like that. So it'd be fun to kind of see what he's encountering out there in the field.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those ones, sometimes it's cut and dry when we interview somebody. We know exactly what they want to talk about and what they've done. But with some people that come on, it's kind of wide open. So it's exciting to see what he wants to talk about and dive into today. And one of the things I was reading recently was the GCSAA does a great job of putting out a regular news. And they were talking right at the end of the year about how golf courses reduced water by 31%. So that was a survey they've done over the last number of years, and 31%, like that's significant. That's a big shift. And I know it's something we've talked about on the show before about sustainability and trying to, save as much as you can, but 31%, it's a big drop.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely been one of the initiatives at the national level for a very long time, is reducing water. Obviously, it's a precious resource. I literally just got off the phone with Scotty Hebert 15 minutes ago. That's one of the things he was talking about, just all the different restrictions out in the desert. And, I know not everyone in the country is feeling it, but at some point, as things continue on, it's certainly going to become an even bigger issue than it is now. And I know here just in the Midwest, we've been talking about it and planning, and so yeah, I mean, just give it time, right? It's going to be everywhere.
100%. There he is, Dave. How's it going?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Coming
We
in loud and
gotcha.
clear.
Great.
How are you, Dave?
Very well. How are you?
Outstanding. Have you been able to find your way back into a routine after the holidays?
Yes. Yeah, I actually found myself in a routine during the holidays for the most part. I mean, my office is in my backyard, so it's
It's always
right
nice.
there, super local. I know it's been good for productivity, but there's always something to do, you know.
Yeah, there's good and bad of having the office within walking distance, right? It's you can never quite separate from it. We feel your pain for sure.
But there are times when, like, let's say my wife's got Project Runway on the TV. I mean, I'm like, oh, I'll see you later. Then I'll come back in a little later and say, hey, I just made a couple $1,000, and she'll be, hey, great.
Yeah. So you're not a big like Housewives series fan then? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I pretty much watch college football and Major League Baseball. And
All right. What's your
Sports
squad?
guy.
What's your college football squad?
well, my wife went to Florida State, so I have to root for them. And my son's at Clemson, so I have
Oh,
to root for
okay.
them. So two ACC powers who are no longer in power.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple years there, huh?
Yeah.
You at least got one ACC school in the big dance now.
That's right. Yeah, and it's the one I'm not supposed to root for because of Florida State. Yeah, I can't say. But it's going to be interesting if Oregon wins tonight, then Mario Cristobal gets to face off against his old team, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a good setup.
absolutely.
Didn't he coach Oregon a few years ago?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
There you go.
Also,
Yeah, that was his last team. So yeah, that could be interesting.
some of our closest family friends here, they have a son who went to Indiana University on an Evans scholarship. Are you familiar with the Evans scholarship for caddies?
That's caddies.
Very
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah. So he just graduated in the spring. So they're having a big watch party at their house tonight. We'll be at a party with almost 100% Indiana Hoosier fans.
Oh,
So
nice.
I really don't have a dog in the race, but I do like watching Indiana play. They're so that is the definitive team as they play such precise teamwork.
Yeah. It's hard not to root for Indiana. I mean, it's such a cool story going
Yeah.
from bottom dwellers to now where they are. I mean, as an Ohio State guy myself, I hate to say it, but definitely got to be rooting for those guys tonight.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Dave, we are very, very excited to talk to you today. It's fantastic to get somebody like yourself on the show. We haven't really dug in, pardon the pun, too much into irrigation on the show. We've had people talk about certain things, but with your expertise, we were really interested to know about you and your career, but we'd also love for you to, give a little bit of education to some of our listeners. We have a lot of younger people that listen to the show, a lot of students and stuff. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that the irrigation is one of the hardest jobs on the golf course. And sometimes people shy away from it or, don't fully get trained properly and things like that. So it's a big topic that we're interested to talk to you about today. And but first, we'd love to kind of dive into people's careers and get to know your story. So take some time and go back to the beginning and tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on. I don't view myself as some kind of celebrity in this business, but I have been around for a long time. So for what that's worth, I can probably bring some interesting stories and also a perspective on where irrigation has been since the 80s through today. And so that maybe is a good place to start. Back in the 80s, I went to college at a small school here in Florida called Stetson University, the Stetson Hatters. And while there, I became friends with a guy named Tim Kilpatrick. Tim and I were fraternity brothers at Pi Kappa Alpha at Stetson. And after college, I located into the West Palm Beach, Florida area. Tim and his family ran an irrigation supply company in South Florida at the time. After bouncing around to a couple of jobs, Tim called me one day and said, would you consider applying for an irrigation sales position with our company? And interestingly, about a month before that, I wrecked my car. I totaled it. I was not hurt. No big deal. It was a car on a lease. So I had no car for a while. And then he told me the job, if you get it, will include a Ford Bronco 2 for you to use we'll pay for the car, the gas, the insurance, everything. All you got to do is wash it. And I said, okay, I got to get this job. So as I learned, uh, they were a Rainbird golf sales distributor for South Florida, Southeast Florida. And they had this thing called computerized irrigation control that was kind of coming on. And they thought that they were going to sell some of these things. Um, there were only a few in the state at the time, but they were kind of planning for the next big wave of potential customers. And when I went to the interview for this meeting or for this job, they had me sit down in front of a DOS computer and show them what I knew about DOS commands, copying files, making a directory, moving something from a hard drive to a floppy drive or something like this. And they were just amazed that I knew all these DOS commands. So I really kind of think that's how I got the job. They figured I could probably, learn and then later on sell and teach how to use what was then called Rainbird Maxi 4 way back in the day. And that is how I got into the golf course business. And I was with them for 13 years. And during that time, it went from where a computerized control system by Toro or Rainbird was an oddity or like you knew somebody who had one, but it was going to really work, to where everybody wanted it. People were basically standing in line to get an irrigation control system upgrade. So it was a really blessed time in my life to be able to get in on the ground floor of something more or less and just kind of ride the wave like that. And it was a great chance to meet hundreds of golf course superintendents. And for most of that time, or part of that time, I wasn't married. So I was really like living, on the golf course and in the social scene. After chapter meetings, there were places to go and people to meet. And it was a really good time. And I had the golf fever at the time, playing a lot of golf. Not well, but playing a lot.
Out there, enjoying it.
Always keeping my clubs in the car just in case there was a chance to grab 9 holes afterward.
Ability doesn't ever matter, right? It's all about availability and getting out there and playing.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I can remember one time playing at a golf course in Lake Worth, Florida. And I don't know why, but it was me and the superintendent, and we were putting our clubs, the bag, inside the hopper of a fertilizer spreader. Why did we use the fertilizer spreader as our golf cart that day? I don't know.
Because it was there.
It's been like 35 years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome. So then how did things evolve then from that early start into where you are now?
Okay. So in 2000, actually in the mid or late 1990s, both Rainbird and Toro came out with software. Rainbird's called Cirrus, Nimbus 2, Stratus 2. Toro's called Site Pro at the time. But these irrigation management software packages had the ability for you to have a digital map of the golf course and be able to use that map for irrigation management, whether you're adjusting a program or creating a new hotspot program or just doing some monitoring of the system. And a lot of people wanted this map, but virtually nobody knew how to make them. And I didn't either, honestly, but I figured I could figure it out. So by this time I was married, no kids, but my wife and I started thinking about, then praying about whether a small home-based business that would basically be a golf course mapping company would be something that could catch on. So I, for about a month or two, we wrote a little business plan in an amateur way. I consulted with some golf course superintendents that were really close to me to see if they would say this, what they thought. It's biblical to seek godly counsel when you're thinking about something that's pretty dramatic, like a change in jobs. So I remember having a couple of lunches with Steve Airbar, a friend of mine from down here in South Florida, and another fellow named Steve Bernard, golf course superintendent now at Adios, and a couple other guys. And we felt like God was saying, go ahead. And I wrote a resignation letter to my boss at work, Tim Kilpatrick, which he was shocked to receive that letter. But that was 2001. July 2001 was our first day in business with the new company, Ragan Technical Solutions. And a lot of people really wanted that map, and that is still kind of a bread and butter of our service offerings today. But that gave me a lot of chances to turn my friends, my old customers, and other people I knew into new customers for this new venture. And some of those guys, many of those guys, as time went on, instead of mapping their old system, they said, "Hey, Dave, in a couple of years, we're going to be hiring an architect. We're going to do a big blow up of this golf course. We're going to need a new irrigation system." And that gave me a chance to branch into irrigation design for the first time around 2004.
So how is the process of mapping a golf course for irrigation? How has it evolved since you've kind of started, obviously, with GPS and technology? Obviously,
Right.
I would assume there are some massive changes in the way that's done.
Yes. So in that 2001 through about 2000, well, I'm sure before that, but by the time I come on the scene in 2001, most GPS, if you saw a guy doing GPS mapping, he was probably wearing like a backpack with a pole and an antenna above his head, something along those lines. The capability of that backpack unit moved into basically handheld devices about that time, which was fortunate for me because it was less expensive. We are not surveyors. So we have never owned what I'll call survey grade equipment, where you can map a point down to a cubic centimeter in size. Really because mapping an irrigation header valve never seemed to need that level of accuracy. So I was able to purchase some equipment in 2003 in order to do a job down in the Keys called Ocean Reef Club. And that was my first. Before then, I had used some friends who were in the GPS mapping business but didn't know anything about golf courses. I put them together with this. Then I bought some equipment in 2003. That was very kind of a turning point. I got to know in an amateur way, but always learning, a field called GIS, Geographical Information Systems, which is basically using maps as a database. We all have a GIS. We carry around with it every day. It's this phone. We're always
Yep.
using Google Maps, et cetera. That is basically a GIS, and we became, if you will, kind of the digital mapping backbone of some of the golf course construction business down here, whether it was as-builting things. A contractor might call up and say, "Hey, Dave, I'm looking at doing this bunker project next year at such and such a place. They've got something like 75 or 80 bunkers, and they're all like octopus shaped. I really need to get some square footage measurements because I don't know any other way to accurately measure all these bunkers." So we would get involved kind of in their construction bidding process. We'd have architects call and say, "Hey, I'm looking at this job up in Georgia or out in Illinois or somewhere, and I really need to get to know the golf course much better before I go in there and interview for this renovation project." So we would get involved with architects in putting together digital maps, sometimes topo maps or analysis of square footage. If a golf course said, "Mr. Architect, one of the things we really want to do is we want to increase our tee size by at least a third." Okay, well, what's the existing tee size? It's about, I don't know, I think it's about 40,000 square feet. So we would actually get some real good numbers together to help golf course architects get to know a project, whether they are just, pursuing the job or whether they actually had the job. So that gave us a chance to know a lot of those guys too. So it's been great that a lot of people rely on us for little things that can turn into big things. And that's been one of our thought processes here. If you take care of people when they have a small request that you might not even charge for, or it might just be a couple $100 worth of service, but they may call back the next month and give you something much, much bigger.
Yeah, the networking in our industry is so big, and it's cool to see that the mapping has changed so much over the years. I'm interested to know about the actual, renovation process or the construction process. You've seen it now for 30 years. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the construction renovation process when it comes to irrigation?
And this kind of discussion I'm going to have here comes up a lot in my discussion with current golf course superintendents. Let's say there's been a guy who's been around for 25 or 30 years, and he says, "Well, I've been thinking about my irrigation system. I want to replace it." But the last time he may have done a project, it had PVC pipe. It had 30 satellite controllers out on the golf course. It had um, no way to interact with the system when you're offsite. Now everything has changed. You know, the the revolution, so to speak, in HDPE in place of PVC has been a big thing. All of the contractors, for the most part, have adapted to this new way um, of putting pipe in the ground um, through fusion, heat fusion of HDPE rather than having thousands and thousands of individual sticks PVC with a joint every 20 feet, basically. When I say it like that, it kind of sounds almost wild that we had basically thousands of leak points on all these systems, and not that long ago. Um, Control systems now, I mean, it really kind of started to get the two-wire systems really started to get traction, I would say around 2010 or so. Rainbird's IC system was kind of the first of the modern smart systems out there. And then Toro, a few years later, came out with a product, and they've both continued to enhance them over time. So I would say that, although any customer of mine could say, listen, I want to have a satellite system. Sure, no problem. But nobody's done that with me in at least 10 years now, I would say.
Wow.
Um, I think every project that has been the replacement of their control system that I've been involved with, and that's been dozens, over the past 10 years have been all two-wire systems. And, the way that users interact with their systems now is oftentimes strictly mobile, whether it's on the golf course or at home or at a traffic light on the way to somewhere else. People are basically programming, adjusting, monitoring, and getting health readings of their irrigation system on the go. Um, it wasn't really that long ago that if you determined that it was going to rain tonight and you hadn't prepared for that when you locked up your gate at the maintenance shop, you'd be driving back to unlock that same gate, get into the shop at night, and turn the system off that way. It seems ridiculous now, but that wasn't
That
that
was just
long.
a common thing, right? Guys had to do that. They had to
Yeah.
prepare for that stuff.
Mhm. Right.
Wow, it's come a long way. So one of the things you were working on courses back in the 90s, I think you had a pretty good Pete Dye story from back then.
I had been fortunate enough to get picked to be involved in the Medalist Club in 1994, I think it was. The Medalist was, I believe, the first collaboration between Pete Dye and Greg Norman. They did a few more after that, and this golf course in Hobe Sound has had some acclaim, practice site for a long time of many tour players. And
I think they
also,
had the match out there too, didn't they? Didn't they have the match out there recently? The night they lit up a couple holes.
they did. And
That's what I
I
thought.
think that, if I remember right, back in the mid 90s, there was an effort to bring back to TV the old Shell's Wonderful World of Golf kind of TV production, and they did one of those from there. I don't remember who the contestants were, but yeah, I was out there, and it's a golf course in the woods. There's really no housing development or anything like that, no roads, nothing but woods. And I was out there, and I had no idea where I was. I mean, I knew I could look at the sun maybe and figure out how I was going to get back to my car. But fortunately, I saw a Grand Cherokee or something like that coming down the fairway, and he pulls up. Guy rolls down the window, says, "You lost out here?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "Well, get in." And it was Pete Dye. It was my first time to say hi to him and have an encounter with him. So that was fun to be found out there. Otherwise, I might still be out there. uh, we Pete had a home in Delray Beach, Florida, which is not far from here, and we had a lot of chances after that to interact. In fact, he uh, one of his more acclaimed golf designs. It occurred in his book, Bury Me in a Pot Bunker, is Old Marsh Golf Club. And fortunately, I was able to be involved in the renovation of Old Marsh in 2016. And that was the last time I really saw him. He was not well at the time. Chris Lutsky, his trusted right-hand man, longtime design mentor, or not mentor, but mentee,
Yeah.
pretty much would pick him up from his home once a week and bring him up to the golf course at Old Marsh. And you could tell that he was not as mentally sharp as he had been. But and I think that was one of his last jobs before his passing.
Yeah. He lived right out there by Gulfstream, didn't he?
He did. There's a little place. It's called his home course down there was a place called the Little Club, which is actually little. It's
Very fitting.
It's short.
all par threes, and then there is a golf
cool.
course. There's an old historic golf course just south of there called Gulfstream Golf Club, and he was a member of Gulfstream, and he did some updating there in probably 2012 or 13.
Yeah.
I think he tried to create a balance between some of the original Donald Ross features and with a little impression of his own on that golf course. And I think it's still one of these places that people who enjoy a historic place with a historic golf club, golden age scenario, when you walk onto the grounds, that's still a must play place down here.
Oh, it's so good. Before Ryan Swilly moved on, I was fortunate enough to drive around with him down there. That place is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. Really neat place.
Yeah.
We are back with another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring PhD agronomist Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. Our question today comes in from Chaz Dibburn. Thoughts on different soil testing philosophies?
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on the show this week, Adam, and thanks again always to the users out there for submitting some great questions. So, yeah, Chaz, I mean, I think the best soil test, in my opinion, is one that you understand well enough to be able to act on consistently in your program. And soil testing philosophies are a lot just like tools in the toolbox. There's, a lot of them that you can look at and use, but not necessarily any of them that are absolute truths. So traditional base models, saturation models, sufficiency ranges, and even newer data-driven or calibrated turf models, they all have their own type of value. It's really, if you understand what question that each of them are trying to answer for you in the end of the day. So for turf, I tend to focus less on, chasing any specific textbook ratio and really try to focus more on consistency, trend analysis, and then, what's the turf response to the applications that you're making. And you got to keep in mind, turf is a unique, living organism in a lot of ways, and a lot of things that are based off of, whether it's row crop type, recommendations, they don't deal with the same, surface under traffic and stress that we do. And then also trying to, come up with some sort of aesthetically pleasing surface. So you got a lot of things stacked against you. And what I think really matters most at the end of the day, if you're really going to boil it down, is, use some methodology, but make sure you're comfortable with it and keep using the same one over time. Really try to kind of search for those trends and not necessarily just for single data points. That tends to obviously have you chasing maybe your tail a little bit more. And then pairing soil testing with other things like tissue testing, right? And then also just visual symptoms and how's your turf performing, and seeing if that's really, at the end of the day, how you want it to be coming out from a data perspective. And ultimately, you want those soil tests to inform your decisions, but don't let them dictate blindly what you're doing out there on the course or in your program. Those best programs always blend lab data with field experience, and then you just got to adjust based on how your turf is responding at the end of the day.
Awesome response. And I just wanted to ask kind of for some of the newer superintendents and people out there in the industry, if they're kind of, inexperienced when it comes to soil tests, or they're a little worried about how to go about it. What is kind of an easy, simple, cost-effective way to kind of get that process started?
Yeah, so I mean, we work obviously with a couple of different labs, and there's obviously a lot of different areas where you can just reach out, get a basic soil test. There's again a lot of different types, if you will, but if you're just looking for kind of a basic starting point, if you will, a lot of them will have really great suggestions. Again, if you're into that sufficiency ranges, which at the end I think a lot of people really focus and tend to utilize those. I always recommend looking at your university research. If they've got any recommendations or any guidelines that they can help steer you, that's always going to be a really good starting point, right? So this is one of those areas where there's a wealth of information out there and a wealth of people that are offering these types of services. So do your homework a little bit, I think, and reach out. And there's always a good starting point. But I think consistency, like we talked about, Adam's another key one, right? So it's great to find out. It's great to get started. But then making sure you're monitoring over time and then, coming up with some sort of plan.
I love it. Yep, stick with it. Awesome. Well, this wraps up another Ask the Agronomist question featuring Dr. Tony Goldsby from the Andersons.
My zip code is 33418, and I get the chance often to work in my own zip code.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. So, I mean, along those lines, I mean, you do work outside of Florida. Talk about what are some of, and we were talking about it before you came on, water obviously being a precious resource, and we're starting to see some regulations and whatnot. What are you seeing as far as water usage, and what do you kind of see people, or what do you think people should be preparing for as time goes on here?
Water has always been an issue, but of course, I think it's increasingly becoming an issue in certain locations. Here in Florida, it rains 75 inches per year, but that still doesn't prevent us from having areas of the state that are in a critical water shortage area, probably because mostly the population growth. In my location, I'm sure this is the same for many urban cores around the country, a good, probably 2/3 at least of the golf courses, for instance, here in northern Palm Beach County, are using reclaimed water. They probably wouldn't get their water permit renewed to take groundwater out when the availability of reclaimed water is right outside their gate. So that's been a great thing. And you know what? Golf courses are a major disposal system for reclaimed water. They're paying for the water, which is good, I guess, but basically doing a gigantic public service by using this water, because where else would it go? You don't want to pump it into freshwater lakes or rivers or streams. You don't want to pump it into the ocean, although it does happen now and then.
No.
There are some reclaimed places that send the water to deep wells, thousands of feet under the crust of the earth. Well, why not just put it on golf courses, ball fields, parks, and cemeteries where there is not, and let Mother Nature take care of recycling this water. So I'm sure that's the case in many parts of the country. I know that we all know that not years ago, but within the past decade or so, there's been a push to reduce overall acreage of the golf courses by implementing more native areas or permeable but not turfed areas, or not fine turf at least. I remember back in the day that most of the golf course heads were full circle. In fact, neither brand really had a very good part circle head. I say neither brand. Hunter's also a brand now. There's a third brand on the market later in time to come along than Rainbird and Toro. But I can remember days trying to work on impact sprinklers and it come back. You know what? That thing wasn't that reliable sometimes to come back, and maybe it turned into a full circle sprinkler and then ended up in irrigating somebody's back porch or their pool.
I know what dance move you're going to go to out at for wedding receptions right there. You've got that one down, Dave.
Yeah,
You've got it down.
I'm going to save that one for some of the receptions at the upcoming industry show.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
nice,
We're going to
nice.
see it at the Centennial celebration, just
Okay.
breaking out the sprinkler. I love it.
Let's do it. And the Toro gear-driven sprinklers, they were not that easy to adjust. It's kind of a pain in the neck at the time. That's all gotten better, fortunately, because honestly, the majority of heads on most systems now are part circles, where it used to be where 90% of the heads were full circles. But I would say also that there's a lot of movement towards specialty application of water, smaller zones to deal with hard to irrigate places like mounds that typically are the first thing to start drying out after a rain event. Bunkers, bunker faces, bunker backside of bunker mounds with small zones. It's interesting. The bunker zones were there when I first got employed to design some of them, which would have been at Bonita Bay Club in the Naples area in 2012 and 13. They were to irrigate the faces, the grass faces that were, especially those that were facing south or such that they would burn up a lot. Now they're being used for bunker moisture management for the playability of the sand. They're irrigation systems, but they're irrigating sand instead, or at least that's how a lot of guys are using them instead of actually worrying about the grass. We have a number of jobs. This may be no big news to people out west of the Rockies, where systems have been complex and thousands of heads for a long time. But on the east part of the United States, having small zones just to irrigate T-tops. Maybe there are also bigger heads to irrigate, or the tees and everything around the tees. But oftentimes the tees are a different turf now. There may be Bermuda grass everywhere, except we got zoysia tees or something like that, where they're trying to make sure that they have a quick way and a water efficient way and a water very specific way to irrigate tees when they don't want to water the turf that's between the tees. So I'm all about that kind of stuff. Whatever we can dream up is a possibility, and it's all, of course, it's more to take care of. People say that, well, this is going to keep my irrigation guy busy when we go from 1,000 heads of a big nature to 1,800 heads, and a bunch of them, hundreds and hundreds of them, are spray heads, small rotators, small diameter rotors. They're not built in such a rugged way compared to a golf course head that can take sand and unusual water or sand sediment that's coming up through the water or algae, etc. But if you really want to be serious about irrigation, water conservation, and site-specific turf application, you're going to end up with a lot more heads. That's just the way it's going to be. It wasn't that long ago that 90-foot spacing was common in the eastern U.S., and now there's a lot of jobs on 65 and 70-foot spacing, and that just takes the number of heads and pretty much doubles it.
That really throws off my golf game, I'll tell you that, because I'm used to the 30 yards of separation between heads when I'm walking off my distances. It's just I don't know what to expect anymore walking a fairway. It's different.
People got to number those irrigation heads so you know how far you are.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing that you say that. I mean, do you see that everybody is still putting the yardage tags on the heads? I mean, there are so many devices for finding yardage now that I don't think that's as common as it used to be.
That's a good point. Yeah, you don't see too many guys pacing it off anymore. Everyone's got a laser or on their phone or something like that. So
I think
that's interesting.
I think the golf pro shops appreciate that. They sell more.
Yeah,
sell more range.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It all boils down to the bottom line, right? Sell more range finders by not marking heads.
I'm sure the public access courses for the weekend warriors, they need to have the yardage tags on the heads.
No, they just go red, white, and blue, right? Just keep it simple.
Oh, yeah, that would keep it simple.
Yeah.
That helps too. So going back to the actual irrigation system itself, I know it's got to be one of the most overlooked things for regular people or golfers that don't really understand turf. You know, when I talk about my job a lot, people are like, "Oh, you know, you cut the grass and you take care of the course, cool." But well, do you not understand? There's a living, breathing, you know, system under this golf course that's ready to pop at any time, and that we have to be, you know, managing this and making sure everything's working properly and dealing with all the conditions and stuff. So I just feel like it's something that's people don't always understand and it's hard to kind of get into. So for
Yes.
you, is there any advice you have for people, you know, maybe new in the industry or have worked in the industry a while that really haven't got any experience with irrigation?
The irrigation system is by far the physically largest piece of equipment that the golf course owns or will ever own. And honestly, with the irrigation system capital budgets I've seen, it's physically the most expensive piece of equipment that they own or ever will ever own. And you're right, people, even club members, they might rather have something in the clubhouse or let's put our money towards some a fire pit experience or some alfresco dining, etc. But the truth is, let's say you're a club member or a golfer and you walk into the clubhouse during the summer and you can, as soon as you walk through the doors, you physically feel the air conditioning is not working again. Third time, you know, in recent memory that the air conditioning system is not working. Um, at some point, they're just going to say, you know what? Let's find the money. Let's just do it. We got to take care of it. It's a mission critical piece of the experience of being a member at this club or enjoying golf at this golf course. Well, I would say that the irrigation system is as mission critical to the agronomic quality as the air conditioning system would be to the clubhouse experience. And nobody would disagree that they don't last forever. Yes, you can nurse it and nurse it and nurse it. You can have, I mean, there are guys I talk to that have systems that are broken just about every day. Some fitting or some joint somewhere is basically the weak spot of today's incident, and tomorrow there'll be some other one. And you know, in the private club market, there's a pride issue that comes in. Other clubs have already upgraded, and that does become a pride issue. That mission critical thing, I use that a lot in the boardroom when people are talking to me about what's it going to take, how long is it going to take, how much is it going to cost, how are we going to go about it, and they're not really convinced totally that this is the thing to do at this time, that they're going to spend millions of dollars on an irrigation system. But you know, another thing is this, it's hard to find superintendents and assistants. I mean, the market is desperate to get the right guy or girl at the right place to increase their agronomic capabilities at a golf course. Do you think a guy is going to be likely to be really interested in a place if it's got a really haphazardly constructed or old or always broken scenario? I got to believe that is a quality of life issue. And I also got to believe it's a quality of like, is this job really for me? Especially if you have kids and a wife you want to keep happy on the weekend.
That's important.
So anyway, I also, you know, when I'm sitting with a GM, oftentimes the GMs are very integrated with what a superintendent is trying to accomplish agronomically. And sometimes, especially those who may have come through food and beverage on their way to the GM position, or they were the tennis pro at one time or something like that, they may not have as much understanding about how important the irrigation system is. And I would ask them, I'm like, would you run your point of sale or the whatever runs this club, would you run it on a Windows 98 computer that has no peripherals that currently work with it? You know, you can't get a printer, you can't get a scanner, you can't get any. I mean, nobody's going to run a mission critical computer from an antique like that. And the golf course superintendent shouldn't be asked to do that either.
Yeah, that's the problem. They've gotten so good at it, right? They'll take it lemons and turn it into lemonade every single time. So it's definitely hurt us.
It's true. There are times when I say, listen, Mr. Superintendent, I bet you could download half of your phone pictures to show me irrigation repairs. You know, when
Yeah.
there's a really deep one
Oh yeah.
and the guy's up to his neck and there's a backhoe involved, and that's something you have to take a picture of. We should be cataloging that, making sure people know that this is the status of things.
No, we can't do that because then you're going to get OSHA all over if you got a guy down in a hole and there's no walls and all that kind of stuff around. You got to be
Yeah,
careful. Got to be careful.
that's true.
Hey, this is Mike from Standard Golf Company. From custom flags to the unmatched precision of our Hammer Strike hole cutter to fully customized laser cut tee markers and durable maintenance tools, and so much more, our team has been proud to support superintendents and golf pros all around the world.
You mentioned earlier, Dave, you talked a little bit about the reclaimed water down in Florida that a lot of guys are using. One of the things that I saw, first place I saw it was Florida, is the reverse osmosis. How much are you seeing those systems come into play now? And just talk a little bit about what they do. And do you think there's an application for those outside of the Southeast?
Those that I'm familiar with are all of the golf courses on the coastal barrier islands. Jupiter Island Club, Palm Beach Country Club, Breakers, and others like that, where the Gulfstream, like you mentioned earlier, they were using reverse osmosis because there's not suitable groundwater underneath the golf course any longer. Saltwater, or maybe there never was, but saltwater intrusion has created a situation where the salts in the groundwater are just not, they're not good for growing turf. And the cost of buying potable water, although they used to be kind of, I think at all these places I just mentioned, that was kind of what they used to do. The cost is tremendous, and it's not a good PR look, you know.
Yeah.
You have a whole population of people who are putting in low flow shower heads and things like this. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's a
The
golf
billionaires are taking all your usable water to take care of their golf
Exactly.
course. Yeah. Yeah. They
Right.
go over real well.
You know, it's a the reverse osmosis systems are complex and they require maintenance and they require inputs of a lot of electricity. And there's an output, the brine, the disposable portion of what comes out of the water production has to be handled correctly. And there are some engineering firms that are specialized in that, in doing that. And I think a lot of their work is also in the Caribbean. This system, this problem of groundwater or very little of it has been a big time problem in the Caribbean for generations. But I'm sure you're looking at at least a big seven-figure number to design and build a plant ready for making water on day one. And then there is additional costs, maintenance costs as the year goes on. So I would say that finding, at least at this point, it would seem economically an RO plant on a golf course that's away from the salt water in anywhere interior the United States may not be an economically feasible situation unless there's just no other water. The coastal golf courses here are starting with seawater, straight seawater,
Yeah.
and then turning it into something that's acceptable, 2,000 parts per million or less, I would presume, of irrigation quality water. I also think that you have, I mean, all the places I mentioned are either private clubs or high-end resorts. An RO plant to make 500,000 or more gallons a day for like a public golf course, that'd be a really tough ROI.
Beautiful. Well, a lot of great information here, Dave. This is awesome. We would be remiss if we didn't ask you a little bit about Toro. They are our main sponsor of the show and do a lot for us. One of the
Great.
things they are talking a lot about now for irrigation is their spatial adjust, and it's obviously huge with the turf rad and moisture levels in the
Yeah.
ground and everything. So if you could talk a little bit about that for us, that'd be huge.
I love what Turf Rat is doing. I think it's great that there's a direct and automated integration now with Toro Links and Toro Links Drive, which I'm sure will be a big feature of their booth, their irrigation side of the Toro booth at the golf show in a month or so. I have a story to tell you if you give me a couple minutes.
Absolutely. Those are our favorite.
About 3 years ago, I decided to not only attend the Myrtle Beach show, the Carolinas Golf Course Superintendents Association show in Myrtle Beach. I'd gone a few times and then I took a booth about 3 years ago. And I thought to myself, if I get over to the show right now, I'll probably end up eating a hot dog. Maybe I should, and that's not good for you, right? Maybe I should find a place to get something on the way so I don't have to worry about eating at the convention center. So it was 11 o'clock in the morning, or maybe just 5 minutes past 11, right after Five Guys opens. So I walk into Five Guys. I don't know if you have Five Guys.
Oh, we have Five Guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Way
yeah.
better than a hot dog.
Yeah, and there's always more than 5 guys working too, which pisses me off. But anyways.
Yeah. And sometimes there's more than 5 people waiting in line, but this was so close to when they opened, there was nobody there.
Nice.
Except I noticed when I was ordering, there's 2 guys sitting off in the corner, and they were wearing the lanyards of the show. I could tell that they had something to do with the show convention center. So I walked over and just stuck my hand out and said, "My name's Dave Ragan," and it was Jamie Sharp and his partner, whose name escaped me at the moment. And they said, "Oh, hey, Dave, good to meet you. What do you do?" "I'm a golf course irrigation system consultant with a specialty in mapping." And they were like, "How could this be? We were just sitting here talking about how the implementation of TurfRad is going to mean that a lot of people are going to have to upgrade their map experience in order to get this integration going. If you have a poor or non-Earth referenced map, how are you going to bring in all this data, which is highly Earth referenced to site specific stuff?" So anyway, that was another little example of how God gets a chuckle out of my life by putting these very blessed little situations that happen. So I became friends with TurfRad from that moment on, and they've been throwing work my way. And we always make sure that when we have a Toro job, which are at least half of them, I would say, we are preparing our maps in such a way that it is TurfRad ready.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Dave, this has been really good, and we really appreciate you two coming on and not kind of diving into your own business and getting into all that kind of stuff and more having a general conversation about things. But we certainly want to leave you some time to be able to talk about what you guys specifically do. And also, there's a lot of golf courses out there right now that don't have a great map. My golf course is one of those ones that has one on the wall of our shop that's probably older than I am, and we definitely need a new irrigation map for our wall or for our phones or whatever. So please talk to us a little bit about what you guys do and how people could reach out to you and get involved and get a new map for their course.
Great. Yes. I have a story for that too. So we've been around now for about 25 years. I mentioned earlier that I founded the company in 2001. And for most of that time, up to about 5 years ago, wherever you were in the country, let's say you called me from Peoria, Illinois, and said, "Dave, I really need an irrigation map. Can you come up here and GPS things?" I would say, "Sure." And then I would start researching flights and a rental car and a place to stay to travel there with my GPS equipment and or one of my guys and get on site and do that job with you, integrating with your irrigation assistant or whoever is most knowledgeable about where everything is. But what happens if you get up there and it rains for 3 days? That would really stink. Well, that has happened a few times. But fortunately now, here's my story. The GPS equipment and the software that runs it is so easy to use now that we've basically built these kits. We have 4 of them that travel around. We call them our DIY kits, do-it-yourself GPS map, where instead of our staff doing the work at remote sites, remote from Florida, that we can send you the kit and you can collect the data on your own. That's how easy it is to use. In fact, we have a laminated card that's inside the kit that gives you the steps. Number 1, charge the equipment beforehand. Number 2, press the button that says power. It's really kind of like a step-by-step. And we've had guys, they're 400 or 500 points into creating their own GPS map collection before we even know they took it out of the box. That's how easy it is to use and get started.
And then they walk to the 3rd hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is better for the golf course in a couple or 3 different ways. One is you don't have to pay us and all the travel costs to come to your golf course. And number two is, if we're going to be there collecting the data ourselves, we're going to have to do it in a time compressed way. We plan on 2 or 3 days there and then driving or flying home, right? But if we send you the equipment, and we basically call it a rental fee, but if we give it to you for 2 or 3 weeks, now your people can work hard on it one day, and then it rained, so we didn't do any work the next day. And then we had some other issue going over here, or a project we need to participate in. So you can work at it a little bit at your leisure, and not in a time compressed way. And the fact is, if we have to work with your irrigation tech to know where the points are, like through a flagging system, to know where they are on the golf course to map them, why don't you just have the irrigation tech, instead of flagging that head, just map that head? It takes about 8 or 10 seconds longer to just pick up the point with the equipment than it does to put the flag down. So it's been a big hit, and it's allowed us to work in almost all 50 states now through this process. And this allows people who have a paper map like Adam on the wall to basically come into the digital age. It also allows all the points to be geo-referenced. A lot of people don't know what that means. They may look at something on screen on their irrigation computer even. If the points aren't exactly in a coordinate system where they actually are on the earth, then the mobile app in the future is not going to work right. Because you want to be able to drive down the seventh fairway and tap, 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 tap heads on as you go, because you see yourself passing by them. Or the turf rad, for instance, it's all geo-referenced. It's collecting data at very specific small parts of the earth. If the information came from a paper map, or it came from some kind of hokey homemade map or something like that, it's not going to work out. There are a lot of people out there that need basically a map update because it's old, or a map upgrade because it's not really ready for prime time in the time frame we're going for. Rainbird has Cirrus Pro, which is their newest entry into the software market. Toro has Lynx, and soon Lynx Drive, and Hunter's new mapping product is coming out soon. I presume maybe it's a show. So a lot of people are going to be thinking of their experience is going to be with their map as the home screen.
That's very, very helpful.
Computer or the mobile device.
I think it's huge too, because I know superintendents struggle with bringing people into their property, especially when there's golf going on or you have a time constraint. So the fact that they could take that, do it at their own pace, I'm sure they can still contact you if they have questions and things like that. That's huge. It's innovating the game like everything else, and also means you don't have to go to the Poconos when it's nice and cold, right?
Yeah. Back in 2005, I was fortunate enough to get hired to do the irrigation and drainage system as-builting for a job in the Pocono Mountains, a place called Jack Frost National. And I don't know what I was thinking. I took my coworker Andrew with me at the time, but we get up there and wow, it's wet, damp, gray, and cold all at the same time. And we just didn't prepare. Well, I guess we brought our Florida wardrobe with us. So we went to the dollar store in town, this little town, Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, and we went to see what they would have in the terms of winter wear that we could purchase. And do you know that scene in Christmas Vacation where Chevy Chase gets kind of like stuck in the attic, and he's wearing his mom's or my grandmother's like long gloves and hat and scarf and stuff? I think that's what we looked like when we came out of the dollar store that night and continued to work on the golf course the next couple of days.
The Florida boys are here.
Florida boys are here. That was, and here's another funny thing. We knew that this wasn't our last trip. So there we were at the Motel 6 or something like that, little broken down hotel in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, and they had like little kitchenettes in there. We didn't use them, but what we did is we took all of our winter clothes, our muddy boots, and we stuck them way, way in the back of the cabinet below the sink or something like this, where we hoped nobody would find them in room number 128. And we came back about 6 weeks later to do more mapping, and we said, we really want to stay in room 128 if possible. Oh yeah, that's open. We go in there and we pulled out all our stuff. It was still there.
Nice.
Mud caked boots are ready to go.
Not a big bag of money, just stuff to hit the golf course with.
But the simple stories sometimes are the ones you remember for decades.
Yeah.
And
That's
golf
excellent.
is full of simple but funny stories, and that's why I love the community of being in the golf business with a lot of friends that I've met and still have all these decades later.
This has been awesome, Dave. Really appreciate your time here and talking us through your story and the latest and greatest in irrigation technology. If there's anything else you want to add to the show here, this is your time.
I'll just add, sometimes when people talk about their career or they talk about their accomplishments or they talk about the good things that happened to them, they pat themselves on the back for their own cleverness or their own, they made their own breaks. I just like to give it up to God and just say I have been really, really, really blessed to be in this business, to have had success. I didn't know what I was doing really when I started my own company in 2001, but we had some low points, but fortunately we were led to a bunch of high points too, and it's to be able to travel to many of the greatest golf courses in the country and meet great guys. It's really just an awesome place to be, and I thank God for that.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for all of your time today. This has been a great episode. I won't have to be too much editing because I thought you did a great job delivering everything and then putting it out there. So it's been a pleasure having you on. And if there's anything else that comes up between now and Tuesday, please let us know. Okay.
Where are you currently sitting?
I'm in Ottawa, Canada. Full of snow up here.
I'm up in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Okay, great.
Yeah. But we'll both be down at the show in a few weeks. So hopefully we can run into each other.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome, Dave. Thanks again. Appreciate your time.
See ya.
All right. Thanks, Dave. From the Andersons, leaders in turf innovation, comes the SR 2000 Pro rotary spreader. Built for professionals who demand precision, power, and zero compromise. With the Andersons' patented cone system and edgewise side spread control, you'll get perfectly even coverage. No streaks, no waste. Its heavy-duty stainless steel frame and maintenance-free gearbox are made to last season after season. The 80-pound hopper, fast action shutoff, and quick setup keep you efficient and on schedule. When you spread with confidence, your turf certainly shows it. The SR 2000 Pro from the Andersons. Well, there you go. Dave Ragan.
Yeah, outstanding.
That was really cool. And we do all these episodes and sometimes you just take the smallest things from it. I've been working on a golf course for so long and we talk about water management and conservation and everything. And something so simple as having a part circle head compared to a 360 head. Over years, you're saving so much water and money and whatever. So it's just those little things sometimes you take. I never even thought about that. But yeah, it's obviously
game changer. Yeah. I think I got in an argument with someone in the industry not too long ago. It's been a couple of years now, and talking about the precision water management with the isolated heads and all that. He's like, "Oh, they're still not saving water." Blah blah blah. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but just common sense tells you if you're not spinning that head 360 degrees, common sense would have to tell you you're going to be saving some. But who am I?
Yeah, but no, a lot of really good information in there. I thought he was going to dive a little bit more into, some of the technical stuff, maybe some of the education, but it seems more like his business really is kind of on the outside and not so much in the hole,
The mapping stuff is definitely important, like you said. I mean, I same thing. I walk into so many shops where they've got an irrigation map from 1960, and it's just, maybe think about redoing that.
Yeah, no, we need to do that. That's exactly what a course like mine needs to do. Send us the package. We'll take a week or two to go out and dare and do it. Have a few different guys on it, and I think that's also great too to get a couple of your younger guys helping you with that because it's like now we're going to see the whole course. You're going to see how everything works, see where everything is, where it's all labeled. Maybe we change some labels so everything's current. So it's a good project. Most courses do an irrigation audit every year, so bring your GPS unit with you, and you got a new map.
It's so much easier to do these days. There's no question about it. Technology has made it relatively simple. Simple is in air quotes, because it's there's nothing simple about the time that it takes to do something like that. But still, I mean, it's just, and how accurate they are, just with these new GPS units that are out, it's remarkably more accurate. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a fun one, and we're kind of sticking down in Florida because I know next week we're talking to Tanner Kaufman, the anticipated second episode with him. We've had so many people reaching out asking, "Can you guys please get Tanner back on the show?" A bunch of different questions. The second season of the TGL just started a couple weeks ago. They just announced they're going to have the women's league on the TGL too. So we got a lot of great stuff to talk to him about. I think that's going to be a fun one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can't wait to talk to him and learn about how, get a little recap of season 1 and how things have changed and what's going on. So be cool to catch up with him.
Should be good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This has been another great episode of Turf Today, recorded on the Superintendent Network. Keep those reels sharp, and we will see you next week.
You can run on for a long time.